This is the best it's ever felt.
Well-executed expansion pack rather than a brand new game.
And a beautiful sense of style keeps it clean up,
making it feel like a promising first attempt.
What is truly a unique and charming action RPG.
Why is it that the big name stuff rarely seems to score below a 7?
A satisfying RPG to plunder your way through.
There are a few reasons for this, and none of them have anything to do with a reluctance to give low scores when we think they're warranted.
It just doesn't work here.
The reality is, there are simply far too many things coming out every day to review them all. Most are underwhelming or clearly bad, and go completely unnoticed by the vast majority of people.
It's the fundamentally flawed choices behind that mediocrity that take Balan Wonderworld from bland to outright bad.
Some are middle of the road and generally worthwhile,
and the story missions are exciting more often than not.
And just a few are heavily marketed, highly anticipated events.
It delivers an enriching show for fans of the PlayStation hit, while also managing to stay welcomely thrilling to newcomers.
The rarest of all are the surprise hit gems that come out of nowhere and are all but impossible to predict.
Apex Legends makes squad-based battle royale work better than thought possible, even when playing with a randomly matched team.
Given that IGN can only handle so many reviews at once, and we generally review around 1,000 things per year across all categories, we have to pick and choose which to review and which to let sail by. When it's not obvious that something is a big deal, like a Grand Theft Auto or an Avengers movie or a Game of Thrones
highly anticipated series here at the IGN offices,
we use metrics like traffic on IGN for news, trailers, and previews to see what the wider audience is interested in. We also use publicly available tools like Google Trends and YouTube. Did a lot of people check out the trailer for a new movie? It's a safe bet they'll be interested to know more.
As a whole, it's still a wildly good time that fans of the games in particular are sure to enjoy.
Did just a few thousand check it out on YouTube? Maybe it's just not clicking with the IGN audience and a review would suffer the same fate.
That's all you really need to know.
When most people aren't interested, but we are, we often take a chance on something we think is special and should be highlighted. That's when you'll see smaller things make it onto a review list.
I can hardly recommend it highly enough.
Importantly, this doesn't necessarily mean that if we don't review something, we didn't think anybody cared or assumed that it isn't good. Oftentimes, it's just an issue of timing, where we have too many irons in the fire due to a busy time of year, and by the time we'd be able to circle back and review it, the question of whether it was good or not would have been long since settled. In those cases, we generally have to wait for another opportunity to come around, such as a port to another platform that opens a game up to a new audience or a streaming date.
Makes it a truly remarkable RPG.
So why is it that the big name stuff rarely seems to score below a 7, which means good on IGN's review scale?
It's ultimately more of a striking modern mimic than a scary new mutation.
Simply put, if something doesn't at least look like it might be great, people didn't click on it or Google it, and we probably didn't review it as a result. But if it does look great enough to pique your interest, it usually ends up being at least okay.
Combat is flashy and fun enough to entertain.
And especially in the case of a big budget game, publishers have to be feeling pretty confident about them being reasonably well received for them to make it to the point of being released at all. Maybe the publisher has even hired some freelance writers to do mock reviews under non-disclosure agreements to see how it might score on release, and many of them came back with 5s or lower. Most of the time, a publisher is going to cancel that game and pivot to a more promising project. When that happens, it never sees the light of day, much less gets reviewed. And games are canceled like this all the time, before we even know they exist. Of course, some very rough productions do still come out for whatever reason, and when they do, we have no issues giving a 5 to a highly marketed game like Gotham Knights or a big name movie like Black Adam. But it's relatively rare that so much time and money is spent on creating something that falls so short of being at least okay, if not good, great, or even amazing. And that's why the great majority of our reviews end up on the top half of the scale. When it comes to the big events, they're usually safe bets, and in most cases, the question isn't if they'll be good, but how good they'll be.
A worthy thief's end, indeed.
And really, if we have to choose, we'd much rather be telling you about something that you should experience rather than something we think you shouldn't.
You should not play this game, and I wish that I hadn't.
That's just more fun for everybody.
A painfully thin sense of progression, lackluster combat.
Wii U is a one-dimensional whack-a-mole title with some clever ideas that never really come together.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to stick around and check out some of the latest IGN reviews.
And I'm excited to see how it develops between now and the fall.
Cleverly designed levels that make consistently smart use of Kirby's abilities.
What spills forth is a genre-defining masterpiece.
Kotaku, Polygon, IGN, all of you, you gotta knock us down a couple points.